The organization I work with, MIRAC, helped put together this press conference along with Representative Karen Clark and the other speakers.
What is MIRAC?
MIRAC is the Minnesota Immigrants' Rights Action Committee. We found out about this about a week or two ago from someone who works for Hennepin County who saw the letter that was being sent to people, immigrants who are going to be affected by this cutoff, and notified us about this. And that was when we started talking with Representative Clark about what we can do to stop.
Is this something that can be overruled by the governor or governor's office? Do you know?
Well, when Pawlenty was governor, he always seemed to find a way to push through policies that he wanted to get through. By hook or crook, he found a way. And so what we're calling on Governor Dayton to do is to do that as well, to investigate every possible avenue, whether it's through an executive order, through appropriating emergency funding, through some way or another to make sure that funding is not cut off and people don't die as a result of this.
Our essential, what we want to come out of today is we want this law stopped. We want the governor to issue an executive order to stop the cutoffs. We want the courts to do something to stop this. And here's why. These laws, if they go into effect, will not just kill people. Before they kill people, they're going to torture people. Imagine the feeling of dialysis being stopped. How long before the pain sets in? How long before you get so sick that you would waiting to slip into that coma? We found out about it about 2 weeks ago. I'm going to show you at the end of this just exactly. We were up watching the session till 2 in the morning, in fact on the uptake, and going and scrambling to get a summary of this bill. There was nothing available to the public. What was available to the public was one sentence saying amending certain provisions. That was it.
My understanding is that as a result of the special session, there was language that was inserted into an omnibus health and human service bill that cut out a lot of people from receiving medical assistance in various forms who were eligible to receive medical assistance. And these include a large number of people who are undocumented, but it also includes a large number of people who have some form of a legal status. And the end result is that as of the end of this year, those individuals who are medically frail, who are on life support equipment and medicines, are no longer going to be eligible to afford that kind of life-saving treatment, and quite possibly we could be seeing individuals that may die in the next few months. Yes, this was a result of the special sessions. This is one of the reasons we should never have these kinds of special sessions, where there was absolutely no budget that was approved at the end of the regular session. There was a lot of politicking, on all sides, putting the pressure to get something done. And the something done is really big stuff, right? You have to have big omnibus bills to fund all of government. And you normally have a regular session to spend months engaging the citizenry about what the final bill should look like. In a special session, you literally only have hours in which to do that, which means that those who write the bills are the only ones that know what's in the bill.
You were not aware of that?
I was not. And in fact, as a member of the minority party, as a Democrat, we were basically cut out. I mean, we were physically cut out of the negotiating rooms. We didn't have access. We couldn't look at the bill drafts that the Republican majority were offering. We saw many of these bills, including this one, for the very, very first time in its entirety at 11 o'clock at night on the night of the special session. And then we have 1 or 2 hours to be able to quickly try to debate it. And so we caught some things, absolutely, but then there were lots of things that we weren't able to catch, and this is one of them.
Was the governor aware of the impact at that time?
I can't speak for the governor. I don't know what he was aware of. I could see a scenario where the governor, because these are huge, huge bills, they involve billions of dollars. I could see a scenario quite easily where the governor was not fully aware of all the provisions, but I honestly don't know how informed he was.
And what's it take now? It's an executive order to overrule it?
Well, that's part of what we're trying to figure out how to do. I mean, clearly one of the things that it would take is for a bill to be introduced and passed to overturn this kind of decision. But obviously, that's going to take months, and these individuals don't have months. So my understanding is, and I'm not a lawyer, but my understanding is that there are certain legal procedures that can be taken in an emergency setting to be able to buy some short-term relief. The other thing that can happen, quite frankly, is that a local nursing home, a county providing services could choose to absorb the cost to continue to provide life-saving. Regis Hospital in my city, for instance, can make that decision. That's a decision they probably will make if they have to make it, because their mission is to provide care for people. But frankly, it's very unfair for them to have to do that, because it makes it harder for them to provide medical care for everyone in the community. So those are only short-term solutions. We really need a long-term solution, and one based on the whole public knowing what's going on and having an intelligent discussion about what our values are. And if we value human life, then these are the kind of laws that we shouldn't pass in the state of Minnesota.
Hennepin County residents are about half of the people statewide that will be impacted by this change in benefits. It's an impact of $22 million on lost emergency medical assistance in Hennepin County alone. And so we're really worried about folks who are in nursing homes, folks who are on dialysis, on chemotherapy, have dementia or serious mental illness, and rely on emergency medical assistance for their care and for their medication. And they will lose that on January 1st. So we are working with residents to appeal. Many of them don't speak English, so it's hard to really communicate with them exactly what's going to happen to them on January 1st. But we're sort of struggling with making sure they file appeals, as well as figuring out if there are alternatives for them.
Have you had any contact with the governor's office or the executive?
We have been talking to the governor's office, and so they know this is happening. They know the impact on Hennepin County and have expressed their concern about the repercussions of this particular cut on particularly undocumented immigrants.
Well, there's been a very draconian piece of legislation passed during the special session, this summer, and the impact of it was not really clear until, for me, it was clear less than a week ago that what was going to happen is that some people who right now have their medical care covered by emergency and medical assistance will lose that coverage. We're talking about people who might have cancer and be on chemotherapy, or people who might have renal problems, kidney failure, and be on dialysis. These are people who are not citizens of this country. It's a very focused attack, I would say, on a group of people who are not yet citizens, but may, be contributing in many ways to this community. Under this provision, unless they appeal to our Department of Human Services today or tomorrow, they may be cut off of the life-saving services that they get, medical care. I mean, it was one of those provisions that was kind of hidden in there for many of us. I did not know about it. Some people knew about it, but it's only been a couple of weeks that even those folks have really become aware. And so, the Department of Human Services is caught with trying to implement a law that they really do not like. This administration does not like this law, but they're trying to figure out how to do what they can within the limits of the federal government and the state.
Have you had any contact with the governor's office or with the
Yes.
executive branch?
Yes, I have.
What's the reaction there?
Well, they're concerned. They're very concerned about the people. I left voicemail with the governor. He was distressed to know that this was in legislation. He was not fully aware of it. He said, he told me in a voicemail that he talked with the Hennepin County Commissioner who told him about the details and what would happen. So, it's clear that most of us who would never support this, including the governor, on any, full-blown discussion, were kind of taken a bit by surprise.
Be off your ventilator. That's an emergency. Okay, I'm in the emergency room. I need a
I
ventilator.
think the ventilators are not included, according to
Governor Dayton just saying this is a statewide emergency and
Yeah.
we need to stop this before it goes into effect.
Well, I think what you could do, were you the one or someone said, some special appropriations, emergency appropriations? I think that would be the way, then you forget about the change in the law. I think don't even need an executive order. You can just say, we are putting emergency funds into
Yes.
this fund right now, into this project, into this program.
To
So
stop.
it will pay for these services and avoid the problem. And then it seems to me that would be a way not to have to either
Well, then we've got to serve. Do
I mean,
your
I think-
own
I think-
call-in.
yeah.
Do your own
You know,
call-in.
I
We'll
think-
do our call-in, and
yeah.
you do your call-in, and then ask a senator. So the Democratic senators are doing it too. I know Hayden's not working this week, but you have another one, I'm sure, that could mobilize the
Dibble.
Democratic senators to call in to Dayton to say, if you cannot do an executive order to stop this, you need to do emergency appropriations to keep
Yeah.
people alive.
I
It's a
call-
life and death
right.
thing.
And I'd also call it